Hi! In this video, we are looking at another evidence for believing that the continental drift theory is more or less true. So, this next evidence is glacier movement and tillite deposits. Okay, so a glacier is a big chunk of ice that is on land. Okay, unlike icebergs, can be found floating on water, just like that's like the Titanic. Right? The Titanic hit an iceberg, but a glacier is a chunk of ice that is floating on top of the continent. So if this is the continent, you might have a block of ice like there. And then what happens is this ice would melt here. So you would have kind of a lubricating effect. So this would kind of move over the continent, right? They would drift over the continent. But as you know, glaciers are ice and they're very, very cold. And again, you know what we learned about solid, when things are cooled down, they shrink. And when they shrink, they are compressed. And when they're compressed, meaning they become very hard. So even ice can scratch metal if it's cold enough. So this is the reason why the Titanic, it hit an iceberg. It's just ice, but why did the Titanic sink? Because icebergs are, when they're cold enough, they are actually hard enough to even overcome metal. So what's my point? My point is, it's the same with glaciers. These are very, very cold things, very, very hard. So therefore they make, as they glide, they make scratches. They scratch the rock layers of the continents. Okay, so these scratches are like marks, scratch marks that are left by the glacier movement. And when the glacier moves, obviously because of the melting, there are some sediments that are deposited in the scratches, and those sediments would create deposits called tillite deposits or tillite deposits. And even when the glacier would now melt, right? If the glacier would now completely melt, guess what? The scratches are there because it's a scratch deep in the rock, and the deposits, the sedimentary deposits that are in the scratches, are still there. So we can still see them even up to now. So so right now, if you look at the structure in South America, Africa, India, Antarctica, and Australia, you can find these scratches created by the glaciers, ancient glaciers, and tillite deposits because of glaciation. And you can actually, you know, if you imagine, these are scratches. So if you find a scratch that is like this, that would tell you that the glacier moved this way, right? If the scratch was like that, then that would tell you that either the glacier moved that way or moved this way. So the direction of the scratches and the tillite deposits, the traces of tillite deposits, would tell you the direction of the glaciers. And what do we do with that? We can trace it back. The tillite, the scratch marks in India, in Australia, in Africa, and South America, we can actually trace them. And what is the narrative that they tell us? The same, that these continents were once connected, and it had a huge glacier over it, and as this glacier moves, it left the scars and the tillite deposits behind. And again, if we trace the direction that is hinted upon, that is hinted by us by the scratches and the tillite deposits, it points to the fact that these continents were once connected as one. So again, another win for continental drift theory. We can find scratches in the ground, in the rock layers, because of the glacier movement, and also tillite deposits that are in this deep scratches that are formed by the glaciers. And again, it points to the fact that these different continents that we see now are once one as the supercontinent Pangaea.